Much of the support for same-sex marriage has made reference to compassion. And this is something which is very misleading because very few people want to appear as not compassionate. And yet, the compassion which the proponents of this movement have claimed is a compassion which is in fact very often a deeply corrupted compassion. It sounds a bit abstract, but let's first of all ask what compassion is. Compassion is not simply that we love and care for another and feel another person suffering. That is certainly an element of compassion, and that's an element of compassion which everybody with heart and mind should affirm. Compassion is something which has two elements in it and which it balances. On the one hand, it has an understanding that there need to be norms. Without norms and values, without boundaries, the human being flounders. The human being heads towards all kinds of dissonance. Dissonance both within and dissonance without, in relation to society and others. It couples, however, with this understanding of the importance of boundaries, a sensitivity, a compassion, a care, a love for the individual. Now, the compassion which we have been hearing about from the proponents of same-sex marriage is a compassion which leaves out boundaries. It's a compassion which says that if a person appears to be suffering, then you have to yield and go in the direction which you think would console and comfort that compassion. This, however, is a very treacherous thing, as we all know, that a person may be pursuing something which is in fact internally dissonant, something which is in fact harmful for him or herself and for society. And yielding to that, it does not necessarily help that person or help society or help that person relate to and find a healthy relationship and position within society. The movement which says that the human being is what they feel they are and should be self-determining against all social norms and boundaries is something which in fact leads to terrible suffering. When we encourage, God forbid, little children to elect their own identity, their own sexual identity, and then to pursue surgery which would alter their bodies in accordance with that fluid apprehension of their identity, we are in fact opening the course to what is proven to be a terrific, horrendous morbidity within people. There is a very high suicide rate amongst people who have undergone sexual reassignment surgery. This concept that the person is able to fluidly determine their own identity and alter their body accordingly has been a recipe for the most tragic inner dissonance. The human being, in fact, is being encouraged to listen to impulse and to go against their own deepest identities. So what looks as compassion is in fact the opposite, because it has no sense of the norm, no sense of the boundary. The same thing applies to homosexuals themselves. The ideology which marshals the universities, the psychiatric associations, the professional associations, comes now to prohibit to the homosexual any therapy to return towards a heterosexual norm, even where they want it themselves. The current ideology states that such a person is trapped within a internalized social homophobia. It denies the validity and the reality of their own patient autonomy. And this is also a very serious thing. Compassion does not mean following the flux of impulse. Compassion means love combined with a sense of boundaries, norms. And those boundaries and norms are found both within the human soul and within the culture which embodies the eternal values of the human soul. If we love and if we feel compassion for homosexuals or for people with all sorts of issues and difficulties, then our response will be one of simultaneous love, care, desire to assist, with a sense of the norms which constitute the intrinsic and essential identity of every human being made in the image of God, to whom God gave certain instructions, certain laws, in accordance with which he fashioned the human body and fashioned the creation. And when we attempt to incorporate our own individuality within those norms, we have a recipe of ultimate consonance, consonance with our own inner being, consonance with society, harmony within ourselves, and harmony within society. In this way, we show true love for the homosexual or for the person with any issues of personal identity.